try and be the most physical team and the toughest team.
Very explosive on offense, very disruptive on defense.
Let's play football, baby. Go Cards!
This team takes the personality of their head coach. Their head coach is a winner.
Brom's here. Brom's home. We're ready to rock and roll.
Louisville wins.
We're in the ACC championship. You can't beat that.
It could be the biggest win in program history for Jeff Brom and the Louisville Cardinals. It is our top story here on the Night Team. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Alex Dieterer. The Cardinals went down to Miami and got their first ever Schnellenberger Trophy with a win over Miami. Mason Hordisky is joining us now. And Mason, the Cards just put themselves in the first ever ACC title game. A whole lot of firsts today.
Yeah, to say the very least, Alex. But let's start with 2014 when Louisville football played its first ever ACC game in a matchup with Miami. Now, just over 9 years later, the Cards take down the Hurricanes on the road for the first time in program history to punch their ticket to their first ACC championship. In a game that more than lived up to the hype, the Cards were able to come out on top with a 38-31 victory, elevating them to 10-1 and an ACC championship berth with Florida State. In the process, Jeff Brom becomes the first coach in NCAA history to send two different Power 5 programs in back-to-back seasons to conference championships games. Last year he did it with Purdue, this year his alma mater.
To come here in the year one to find a way to get to this championship game, yeah, it means a whole lot. And so, you know, it just shows that if you're willing to put in the work, you surround yourself with good people, you allow others to buy in and work together and take the blame when things aren't going well and just try to figure this thing out, good things can normally happen. I just think we have really good coaches that are good people. We have a good support system at the university. We've got players that want to win, and fortunately it's gelled together to help us get to this point.
Coming up later on, we'll have all the highlights from one of the most impactful wins in Louisville football history. That's all coming up in sports.
All right, thanks, Mason. But first, WHAS 11's Connor Steffen was able to catch up with some Cardinal fans after the game today, and they are ecstatic about the win and are thanking one man.
Ask some Cards fans to sum up the season so far.
They've proven that fourth quarter comes, they're going to rise up.
They're back. Brom's here. Brom's home. We're ready to rock and roll. Expected to win, but didn't expect to win this big.
And they will play for the ACC title.
After knocking off Miami 38-31 Saturday,
Congratulations to Jeff Brom.
the Louisville Cardinals clinched a spot in their first ever ACC title game.
We couldn't sit still. Could not sit still. Nervous, toe tapping. I knew that was a big moment for us, for the team, for the city.
It's something that I, going into this season, never expected. And I couldn't be happier and more proud to be a U of L fan right now.
And those fans
He's home. He did the job. We're here.
are thanking one man tonight.
I would just tell Jeff that this fan base, this city, they were in need of a winner. The football program's been in a mediocrity state. And this city, this fan base needed a shot of life, and Jeff, you've given us this shot of life.
For this fan who went to U of L in the early 2000s,
Brian was there when I was there. Brian.
clinching an ACC title spot was as full circle a moment as they come.
To have his brother there, kind of full circle moment. It's exciting, super exciting.
It's just electric. It's been electric all year.
As the Cards fan base takes it all in.
And for the first time ever, I really feel like it's worth it. You know, being in that stadium and feeling the atmosphere.
They're looking ahead to next Saturday in a tough matchup against rival UK.
This is just a special season, and look, the job's not done. We have 2 more games, maybe 3 more games to win.
Taking a moment to relish in history while always looking ahead to the next game. In St. Matthews, Connor Steffen, the WHAS 11 Night Team, on your side.
You can watch the Cardinals take on Florida State in the ACC title game right here on WHAS 11 in 2 weeks. But first, they'll have to take on in-state rival Kentucky for Jeff Brom's first shot at a Governor's Cup as the head coach of the Cards. You can catch that game at noon next Saturday right here on WHAS 11. A Louisville blacksmith is taking a stand against gun violence by breathing new life into unwanted weapons and turning guns into gardening tools. There was an event today aimed towards getting guns out of the community and turned into something helpful. Photojournalist Addie Hill was at the event, and we show you how a sculptor is using his work to push for change. Guns to Gardens, an event that turns unwanted weapons into garden tools.
Some of those guns have wound back up on the street and is used in violence crime for a second time. And we don't think that's right.
Craig Caviar is a blacksmith who has channeled his talents into making a difference.
We're hoping to influence the state legislature.
The Safe Surrender event gives people the opportunity to anonymously turn in their weapons, getting them off the streets and turned into something beautiful.
We had a very hard time figuring out legally how we could collect the guns because the laws in Kentucky require any government agency who takes possession of a gun then has to be turned over to the state police and they're auctioned off.
We just are so happy that we found something, it's a little thing, but a concrete thing that we can do to decrease the number of guns, because fewer guns, I think, means less opportunities for violence.
At Saturday's event, the weapons were taken apart and cut up. Then Caviar is given the pieces that he then turns into garden hose, jewelry, and artwork.
The vision is to take instruments of death and violence and transform them into instruments of healing and beauty.
Saturday was the third Guns to Gardens event in Louisville. People who surrendered their weapons today could remain completely anonymous, and they also received a gift card. A woman is dead after police say she was hit by a car on the Gene Snyder. Police say they received multiple calls about people on 265 before 7 this evening. That's when officers say a car traveling south hit a woman in the road near Taylorsville Road. EMS was called to the scene where the woman was pronounced dead. LMPD says all parties involved remained at the scene and there were no other injuries. West Louisville has a brand new park. Today, leaders cut the ribbon, officially opening the Alberta O. Jones Park in the California neighborhood. The project has united community leaders and residents to transform nearly 7 blocks of vacant property into the newest park. The park is named in honor of Alberta O. Jones, the first black woman to pass the Kentucky bar exam and a civil rights pioneer. We spoke to her sister after the ceremony, who tells us she would have loved this space.
But her first words would be, because she was so modest, what did I do to deserve this? That would be her first words out of her mouth. What did I do to deserve it? Because anything she did it from the heart. She didn't do it for recognition.
The Parks Alliance of Louisville led the project and said from day one they wanted the community to drive what would be found in the park. So everything that was placed in the park, all the ideas, came from people in the community about what they wanted to have in their own park. Today, 19 8th graders from the W.E.B. Du Bois Academy participated in a Butillion. A Butillion celebrates the transition from boyhood to manhood in African culture, similar to a bar mitzvah without the religious aspect. Organizers say the event is to celebrate the 8th graders as they transition from middle school to high school.
But the highlight of the event is our students who are going to be dancing with their partners and their mother to show forth their adulthood, moving into a space of manhood and adulthood. It's vital because we're in an inclusive environment. In order to really have inclusion, we have to celebrate each other's traditions and cultures.
Tonight's event had music, dances, speeches, and other nods to African culture. Special edition bottles of bourbon were sold today, signed personally by members of Louisville Slugger Warriors. The Louisville Slugger Warriors are a public charity organization and the only nationally sponsored amputee baseball team. Today's bottle signing celebrated the release of Barrels and Billet's new bourbon Against All Odds.
And they came up with the idea about a team bourbon, and then we had a national contest to name it. And it was won by a young lady out of Florida, and she named it Against All Odds. And the powers that be at Louisville Slugger loved that name, and it seems to fit us pretty well.
A portion of the sales from the bourbon will be donated to the Louisville Slugger Warriors.